Well, good afternoon. I'm Larry, the owner of Evergreen Tree and Landscape here in Seekonk, Mass. And I'm going to highlight some perennials and annuals. And the reason why I thought it might be interesting to hit some annuals at this time of the year is you'll see them sort of still in their prime, as opposed to when you show up in the spring and they're in tiny little pots. It's hard to envision how large and beautiful they're going to get. So save this video and look at it next spring and to revisit some of the annuals that I'm going to highlight now that you might be interested in buying next year for your gardens. I'm going to start right now with this beautiful hibiscus. Now this is a perennial hibiscus, so it's sold on our perennial benches during the spring and the summer. It's part of the Summerific series with the burgundy leaf, the two-tone big 6-inch flowers. I'm not sure of the name of this one, but there's so many of them, it's hard to remember all of them, but it's one of the ones we sell. It could be berry awesome with the burgundy leaves and the beautiful pink flowers. It's been blooming since about the middle of July. So it's been in bloom now for 6 or 7 weeks, and it'll go for another few more weeks. As you can see with this specimen, we did not cut it back, and you can cut it back as it's growing in the early spring or mid-spring. You can cut it back in half and you can keep it more compact. We've just allowed this one to kind of take over this corner of the garden. You can see a fall sedum coming into bloom here on my left, and you're right over here. That's probably Autumn Joy, one of the older varieties. Great succulent for dry spots, sunny, hot, dry spots. A perennial, again, a perennial that'll come into bloom in late August and right into September. So in between the sedums, I'm going to point out a couple of nice annuals that I think you should consider next year. In the back here is a cleome, or spider plant, right in here. These beautiful lavender flowers on a 2 to 3 foot plant. The old cleomes that I used to grow and our parents grew and grandparents grew, reseeded every year. So if you like cleome, that's a good thing. If you didn't want to be picking it out of your garden the following year, it was a bad thing. But the new variety, this one is a proven winner called Senorita Rosalita. It's sterile, so it's not going to reseed, and you won't have it all over the place next year. It's a nice compact variety. The older ones did get 3 to 4 feet high, but this one's nice and compact. It's been blooming all summer long since June. It's just a beauty. You can see the potato vine, the sweet potato vine. I think that's Caroline. That's the yellow lime chartreuse colored one. It works great in baskets, and as you can see, it's a good ground cover. I tend to keep it in check by trimming it in my own mixed containers and mixed baskets, but it can fill the ground for the summer. It's an annual. And then another one I want to highlight here, it's definitely one of my favorites, is Scaevola. Scaevola is a great annual for hot summers, dry summers, and even this damp summer we've had. It's a hard sell in the spring. When it's in the pots in the greenhouse, it's in a little 4.5-inch pot, and it's sort of weedy looking with not a lot of flowers. So it doesn't attract a lot of attention, but boy, put it in your ground, put it in a container, put it in a hanging basket. It's a fantastic flower, summer annual called Scaevola. Blue Wonder is the dark blue one that I think you all should have. Moving over this way. By the way, we're out at our display garden here out at the road. As you can tell, you've heard the traffic go by out at our sign. What we've done the past few years is just filled it with annuals that are left over from spring sales and a few of our favorite perennials. In the spring, there's bulbs that come up, and we'll probably add some mums this fall. Another tall annual for a mixed container, about 18 inches high. This is Angelonia, and there's three varieties of colors we grow. Wedgwood Blue is a blue with a little bit of a white in it. This is the dark purple one, and there is a pink one. But Angelonias are great in containers for the center of a container, for height. Again, been blooming all summer. Another one of I have a lot of favorites, but this is a perennial favorite of mine, Black-Eyed Susan. This is the variety called American Gold Rush. Came out just a few years ago, and it doesn't get leaf diseases that the other varieties get, and it blooms a lot later. It starts a little later, and it blooms well. This will be blooming in October, and it's been blooming now for about 3 weeks. You can see one plant can easily get 3 feet around, 2.5 feet high, so you want to give it room in your garden, but it's great for late season perennial color. And for fun, Nick put in some okra throughout the garden. If you like okra, easy to grow, interesting height, nice foliage, and good for eating. We move along here. Here's a couple of sun patience. We grow a lot of sun patience. These are related to the New Guineas, and they just get a little bit taller and wider and take full sun and bloom all summer. You know, they've been blooming since May, and they're still blooming. Here we are, early September, and they're going to go right up into a frost. And next to that, in front of our sign, is a coleus. We grew it from a plug. You know, coleus have come a long way over the last 10 to 20 years. Used to be coleus was strictly a shade garden plant in my younger years, and now, you know, these new hybrids, they'll take full sun, and boy, do they offer a lot of nice color all summer long without flowers. I mean, they will send up a spike of a flower, but it's really, we grow it for its really intense foliage. This is a red. We have some that are lime green and variegated, but you really should consider foliage for your garden. If you want color in a foliage, you can't beat it. And over here, it looks like we have some lantana coming into bloom. Some must be a compact variety of lantana. The hummingbirds love lantana. Here it is here. You can see them amongst our weeds. And a white begonia that's been taken over by a few weeds. So I guess we'll end it there, and we're going to take a walk into another part of the gardens. Over here you can see there's a Russian sage, denim and lace, that's been blooming for 4th of July on. Here's one of those newer varieties of phlox called Opening Act. It's probably ultra pink. And here we are in September, and it's still sending up a few flowers, but it's been blooming since June. Most of it's done, but it's a great plant. Summer phlox, tall phlox for early summer color right through the summer. This perennial geranium is called Roseanne with the pretty blue flowers. We do cut it back probably once a season to keep it tight like this, but it's a great plant. Takes quite a bit of shade and full sun. This is a new perennial called Echinacea, so it's a cross between Echinacea and Rudbeckia. So Rudbeckia being black-eyed Susan and Echinacea being the coneflower. So it's a cross. It's got kind of some of the characteristics of both. We just planted it this summer. This is an allium serendipity. It's all done blooming. It was in full bloom probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was a lavender color. You can see here just it's all just about gone by now. But even the flower heads, the seed heads, are going to look great all fall and right through the winter. We leave it up all winter and then cut it back in the spring. There's a coneflower back over here that's just going by. It's maybe one of the sombreros or salsa varieties. Okay, so we're in our display garden to the right of the garden center, and I just wanted to take a minute to show you Incrediball. This is Hydrangea arborescens Incrediball. It's a proven winner that came out many years ago now. It kind of replaced Annabelle, which kind of flopped a lot. This is in complete shade. There's a large oak tree above us. It might get a half hour of morning sun at best, and that's it. And you can see how beautiful and big the flowers got this summer. They start white. Here's a remnants of one coming up now, but these were pure white back at the end of June, staying white all July, and then when August hits, they turn this kind of limey chartreuse color. It's pretty. Right next to us, I'll just point out this climbing hydrangea. It's been here for over 50 years, but it's attached to this large oak tree, and you can see the little florets along the outside are still hanging on, but in early to mid-June, it's quite a sight when the whole thing's in flower. It's another member of the hydrangea family. It's a vine that attaches. It doesn't wrap. It needs something to attach to. The saying goes with climbing hydrangea is that it sleeps, creeps, and leaps. So year 1, it's just growing roots, sleeping. Year 2, it starts to creep around, but by year 3, it's going to take off. And you'll have to keep an eye on it because it'll go places you don't want it if you let it. Okay, so we're stopping under the October Glory red maple here in front of the store. I wanted to point out a wonderful hanging basket that can be used for both shade and sun. I see a lot of these in full sun used in towns and cities. This is called Dragon Wing Red. So it's a large leaf begonia. Trails. And this is in a 10-inch basket. So that's not a big basket, and you can still see how great it looks. You know, I like to use a 12 or 14 or a 16-inch basket if you're going into the summer months where those larger baskets can hold so much more water. But this one stood up really well in a 10-inch basket. You know, we got to keep it watered daily, but it did really well considering. So a good hanging basket, good for mixed containers. You can even mix it in a hanging basket with other plants, but it's a winner. So we're in the backyard, And we've got some mixed containers that were started back in June. And I'm just going to point out, again, remember that coleus you saw out front? How deep red. So this is a little flower that's coming along. I probably pinched it once to keep it bushy. This is just an old bedding impatiens, one of the newer varieties that are disease resistant, the Beacon variety here. And we mixed in a Swedish ivy for foliage. And that looks really, really nice. This gets about 2 to 3 hours of morning sun, and that's it. On these baskets here, now we're getting a little bit closer to the sun. We might get maybe 3 hours of sun here, but again, 3 hours of morning sun is not a lot. In fact, it's probably less than that. But you can see Terenia. I'm not sure what the name. I think it's summer wave blue here. Terenia is great for sun or shade, and you can see where we're only getting an hour or two of sun. It's getting lots of flowers. This is Euphorbia Diamond Frost. Now, if this was getting more sun, it would be, you wouldn't see the green leaves for all the white flowers. But because it's in partial shade or more shade than sun, you're still getting some nice white airy flowers, but it's not dense. Got another one of the impatiens. This is a New Guinea impatiens. So here's a New Guinea, the big leaf that takes sun or shade, and you can see how well it's doing. We've got a Dracaena, a cordyline in the back here, a little spike, variegated cordyline. And the same thing on this side with another New Guinea. See, as we get closer to the sun, you're getting a little bit more flower. But even with just a few hours of sun, you can see how well these containers have done. Over here, we've got some of the sun patients that I spoke of earlier. This is hot pink, and these went in very late. They probably didn't go in until early to mid-July. It's whatever was left over in the greenhouse, we just kind of put out into the ground. So had they gone out in early June or late May, they'd be a lot bigger. But you can see that just continuous flower all summer long. In the back of this garden, you can see a panicle hydrangea. That one's called Firelight Tidbit. Changing now to pinks, shades of pink, and still new ones coming up on the right of it, some white. And what I like about this plant is it stays small. With very, minimal trimming, it probably will only get about 2 to 3 feet high at max, and maybe 3 to 4 feet around. So unlike some of the other panicles that you do need to stay on top of, this one is easy. Good for the border, the front edge of a garden. And again, it started blooming in early to mid-July, and it'll stay blooming right through frost. So over here are some more annuals. I just want to point out that I found, I've got about 10 bunnies living in this backyard, 2 families of 5, and they have eaten a lot. They've eaten my verbena, but they have not touched these New Guinea impatiens here that we put in, again, pretty late in the season. It was probably the end of June before I had time to plant. So you can see how wonderful they've done in full sun to pot shade. Behind it is a butterfly bush that is probably 15 years old, and if you look inside here, you'll see that we had to cut it back really drastically this year. In fact, if you get in there close, you'll see that all of this new growth came from within just a few inches of the ground. I didn't think it was coming back after this winter when we had that cold snap back in February for about 36 hours where it dropped below -5 after a warm January. But it came back. We cut the dead out, and within a month it was back to life, and it looks great. And on this side, we've got another one of those big leaf dragon wing begonias. This is a white one. I don't recall its name, but again, it takes some shade and full sun at the same time, and it'd be a lot fuller had we gotten them in here a lot earlier in the year. So here's Scaevola Blue Wonder. I wanted to point it out to you. It's got that darker blue violet color. Again, this is one of my favorites, and like I said earlier, doesn't have a great shape or flower in the early spring when you're buying them, but boy, it really performs from midsummer on. So another favorite of the panicle hydrangeas, we talked about Tidbit a second ago, how that one only gets 2 to 3 feet high. This is called Little Quickfire. Little Quickfire can get anywhere from 3 to 5 feet high with some trimming in the early spring. You can see it's still sending up new flowers. They're pure white when they start emerging, and they start in June. So this has been going on for 2.5 months now. White flowers that then, as we get into the season and the days shorten and the nights get a little cooler, they start changing to shades of, pink and rose colored. A beautiful plant without taking up a lot of space in your garden. And it's, easy to trim in the early spring. generally be just before May 1st or late April. You get in there and just cut back a third. And you can see where we cut it this year. So if you look in here, you can see we cut it here in the spring to about maybe 2 feet off the ground, and then it grew another, you know, 2 to 3 feet, and it terminates in flowers starting in mid-June. Great plant, great summer color. This is one of the newer varieties of the macrophylla or the mop head, the big leaf hydrangeas, which don't bloom all that well on new wood like the panicles. That's all they do is bloom on current season's growth. I put this one in 2 years ago. Bloomstruck is an endless summer variety that does have the ability to bloom on new wood. And with this past winter, when we had that polar vortex in February, most big leaves, if they were the older variety, they're not blooming at all. The newer ones, like endless summer varieties and some of the other ones, Nantucket Blue, Popstar, they do bloom better on new wood. And you can see this one did come up with several flowers during mid-season. As you can tell, I really like the panicle hydrangeas. I'm always working them into our designs. This is an older variety called vanilla strawberry, right. There's so many of them: Pinky Winky, vanilla strawberry, strawberry sundae. But basically, they bloom on that new wood. We've had this one now for, gosh, I would say 10 years. We've cut it back probably to about 4 feet, and it ends up, you know, at 6 to 7 feet high and wide. They're pure white when they start, like this. And you can see, again, as the season progressed, they started changing into colors of shades of pink and rose. And to your right, you're going to see Firelight. This is a newer one. Again, we've had it for here for 5 or 6 years, but it really turns dark, almost reddish. You can see that color, really pretty. But they start pure white. Firelight gets about 6 feet. We cut this one back to about 3 feet, and now it finishes off at about 6 feet in height with beautiful color. Both of these started blooming around Firelight started a little earlier, probably early July. Strawberry Sundae somewhere around, or vanilla strawberry somewhere around the middle of July. But they're, like I said, they're all white to start, and then they start to change as we get later into the season. And this one here is Invincible Spirit. This is the smooth hydrangea, which blooms on new wood. So like the panicle, it blooms on new wood. We generally cut it back to about 2 feet off the ground. And you can see this is what the color looks like in June and July. You can see just the remnants of a little flower that just still thinking it's summer, probably with today's weather. But again, it also turns a little lime green. But it was in bloom. The smooth hydrangeas start in mid to late June, and they go all summer long. And this is a new panicle called Little Lime Punch. So Little Lime came out many years ago, gets 3 feet like Little Quickfire. But 2 years ago, this variety came out from Spring Meadow Nurseries, and it's a proven winner. And it starts all white and then turns not just a mauve pink, but then gets really deep with the color. Really, really, really nice, striking fall color coming in now.